Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Blockchain Center Vilnius. It's really nice to see new faces out there. For those of you that don't know anything about Blockchain Center Vilnius, I'll just explain who we are and why we're here. We are an accelerator and co-working space for blockchain companies and startups. The guys you see over here trying to work while we talk are our resident companies, basically. That's what we do. We're an education and networking hub for blockchain. So these events, we put them on for free to give you guys the education that you may need and the information that you need to go forward and carry on with your projects. So without any further ado, I've got with us today one of our residents, Benes from Exorio Capital. He's going to present to you some information called Tokemania. So, Tokemania? Tokemania, yeah. Tokemania. We've been talking a lot about tokenomics recently, about security tokens and utility tokens. And the main talk today is from our guys from Viseco, who are going to discuss that topic entirely. But first, I'm going to hand over to Benes. Benes, you want to make your way up?
Do you hear me? Do you hear me?
Oh yeah.
You hear me? Alright, so hi everyone, nice to meet you. My name is Benes. I'm a co-founder and a fund manager in Exorio Capital. We're established right here in Blockchain Center Vilnius, and we're basically a crypto fund. How we're different from other crypto funds, we're actively managed. Most of the crypto funds are passively managed. They have an index or a basket of coins which they invest in and hold. What we do, we actively invest. We have active strategies that we exploit market efficiencies. But we're going to talk about it maybe if you wanna catch with us over there. But today I'm going to talk about Tokemania. During the second half of 2017 and of course right now in 2018, we have a lot of hype, a lot of spur about all tokens that are coming up. They're like mushrooms after rain, right? Like you have ICOs everywhere and for everything. So, and at the second half of 2017, maybe this was more focused on the public. Right now, it's like probably more focused on private funds investing in ICOs and so on. But the topic is still hot and it's still there. So let's dig into that a bit deeper, right? ICOs really made the crypto markets flourish, I would say. Even after the drop at the beginning of the year in 2018, which was around 70% of in network value or market cap, as either way you call it, we have that exchange activity is still more than 6 times higher than it was a year ago. So all the ICOs really kind of, brought all those gamblers from China and all those hungry for financial markets from the US, and they all started to bet on things, buy things, and just trade. They was hungry for that. And of course, these numbers are mostly reflect the public kind of trading on ICOs, on tokens, crypto tokens. But the question is, how much of that volume is actually real? A recent research made by one of the fund managers in the US found that one of the leading exchanges called OKEX has almost 95, I think it was 93 to 95% of its volume fake, totally fake, just circulated around. So the question is, how other exchanges are operating. Are their volumes real? Are their volumes fake? Like, how is it in, how can we check that? How can we be sure? But yeah, maybe further researchers will enlighten us on that. When we look at fiat capital and crypto, we can see that it became clearly more dominated by the Japanese yen. So a year ago, it was mostly US dollars, of course, and Japanese yen. But as the year went on and a lot of more ICOs came up, the Japanese yen part really exploded. Of course, in in real terms, both of those parts really grew, but in percentage terms, Japanese yen, like the fiat to crypto pair in Japanese yen really gained a lot of traction. That was probably mostly due to all the Asian markets trying to buy crypto, because, for example, in Chinese, their crypto buying is banned, so they have to find other ways how to do it. So the same goes for South Korea for some time. And Japan is really friendly towards crypto since 2016 already. They have all the regulations laid on, they're looking friendly into it, and they're good with it. So what happened, everyone tried to find a way how to do it, how to invest in ICOs, and they found in Japanese yen. Other large pairs, fiat to crypto pairs, include Korean won and euro. Looking at the average value of a token, where does all the market hype, everything comes from? We can see that the total crypto market capitalization increased by more than the number of tokens, meaning that the average value of a crypto token increased basically more than 4%, which can tell you two things. Either it's really hyped and there's not much value in it, only speculative, or maybe there's a lot of teams working on it and a lot of belief in the sector and a lot of kind of hope, a lot of future value put in those tokens. So either way, we have a fact that the average value of a crypto token is right now $72 million. But let's look at another side of the ICOs, right? It's not all flowers and fairy tales, but actually research on the number of ICOs going bust in 2017 showed that 59% of them are either failed or said failed, meaning that only 41% of ICOs in 2017 are actually ongoing, right? They're working on their projects or they have their ICO ongoing and so on. So when investing, a lot of people always mention 99% of them are going bankrupt and so on. But have in mind that 99% of those, like 50% is already dead. So you're basically like you have less to choose from. So have this number in your head when thinking about it. And there's actually the ICO graveyard that is posted online, and you can check it, and it grows larger day by day. It's pretty funny how they put it. I'm not sure. Jim, is it going to open? All right. Okay. Yeah. You have basically a curated list of dead coins, and you can have detailed list or just a short list, and there's hundreds of them. There's already more than 800 of them at the moment. So yeah, either way. I'll switch back. Jamie, can you help me on this? Almost. Probably. Yeah. Okay. Let's get back to it. Yeah. Last time during the Talk and Trade, I talked about crypto network fundamentals, that where daily active addresses, transaction count, transaction volume, on-chain. But looking at basically token network fundamentals, you look at, there's actually this really cool site called DApp Radar, which is developed by a Lithuanian developer, actually. And it shows the daily active users in the 24-hour transaction count on the decentralized apps, which has native tokens. So I took a really conservative measure that if a DApp has more than 1,000 daily users, which is actually really low, right? 1,000 daily users, daily active users is like nothing. But if you take 1,000, you get that only 1% of them is actually active. And these include, for example, IDEX, exchanges like IDEX, Fork Delta, and of course our all well-known crypto game, CryptoKitties, with non-fungible tokens in them. Either way, like the DApps are really kind of a new sphere, and they're not developed that well. So we're still looking at it in the early stage, and let's hope for better future adoption. But either way, at the moment, it's still low, right? The valuations are sky high, 72 million US dollars per app, but the real activity, well, we have to wait for that. And yet, last but not least, I just wanted to touch upon one of the current issues with Ethereum blockchain. It has a lot of issues, right? It does not scale well. They think about whether to switch it to proof of stake or not. They're trying multiple scaling solutions, both second layer and on the blockchain itself. But one of the problems that I just stumbled upon recently is the Ethereum size problem, basically. Ethereum blockchain size just increased over a terabyte, meaning that it might not be a problem of bandwidth, but it might be a problem of network latency that Ethereum might congest. Like the full nodes that are running the whole Ethereum blockchain and have it on themselves might not be able to update it and keep it up to date to store all the transactions and to show the network that it's happening, like this transaction should go there, this token should belong to this person, and so on. So of course, there are probably already Ethereum core developers working on this one, but just a recent issue that I thought that would be good to share with you, and for you to know that, yeah, Ethereum faces a lot of problems as Bitcoin and as any other cryptocurrency or crypto platform. But yeah, we're in the early days, so let's hope they all get solved. Yeah, thanks again for listening to my, I don't know, boring or interesting speech. And yeah, see you next week.
Thank you very much, Benas, for that contribution.